Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. I'm super excited to introduce Soenil. He's going to talk about penetration testing and the red teaming activity specific to the healthcare industry. Without further ado, look, Soenil, thank you for joining us. Would you like to introduce yourself? And I'll open up your slides.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Um, yeah, I will proceed. I will quickly go to a quick agenda and then a quick introduction about me in one of the slides. And based on that, I should be able to proceed.
Okay, cool.
So, agenda is quick about me. I'm Soenil Soebedar from the Netherlands. Uh, Remotely joined. Some based on the audience, just create some slide to discuss some basic terminologies what we are using in red teaming penetration testing, why we need to have a pen testing, why red teaming is important, what scopes we need to check, and which type of pen tests are available. So quickly going through those steps. Then a part about preparation, how to prepare a penetration tester from a penetration tester point of view. A use case about the healthcare in a real red teaming exercise when I was involved and was doing the pen test. So we will go a bit in depth about it. Some motivation tips, and at the end, you are able to ask your questions. So my profile and who I am is actually, I tried to put it in one page. Um, 31 years in the IT field working, more than 21 years as a freelancer contractor on several assignments, and the last 11 years into the cybersecurity field. Some of the roles I'm still doing are and at the left side, you are able to see some of the clients where I'm currently working or have been work, some of my cybersecurity related certifications. And at the right side, you are able to see some of the branches uh, I'm working. Mostly currently, I'm still on assignment by the Dutch Ministry of Defense as a cryptography architect and specialist. For almost 1.5 year. But beside that, for my own company, Subit, we are also working in India with a lot of college and universities related to cybersecurity. And recently add also some quantum computing training into the program. So by moving forward, a short disclaimer, the part is what I will try to share in this presentation will be for educational purposes. Um, any errors on any items what we are mentioning during the slides, we are not responsible, and please don't try it also. We are not trying to encourage any commercial products, but just as mentioned for educational purposes. So some of the keywords and terminologies what we are mostly using has will be quickly through it. So this is a total overview of what we are able to know, where we should be able to do or work in the cybersecurity field. For now, we are mostly focusing in on offensive part, the red teaming, the purple teaming, and the blue teaming more from the defensive part. So more in depth about those and what are the responsibles and what are red teaming, purple teaming, and blue teaming doing in the upcoming slides. So pen testing is actually a test of one or more computing systems. We try to find the vulnerabilities and where those vulnerabilities could be, we try to make use of it or break it. And with those, we are able to exploit it and go into the systems. So some of the common keywords is, and in some of those steps will also be mentioned, is how we are able to gather information, collect the information. Uh, the preparation was is one of the separate topics. I will discuss more in depth about it. Reporting is important part. Try to also get the information what we are getting from a pen testing. and mention it also in a risk matrix, especially for management level, but also you need to be able to explain it on technical level to the engineers. They need to fix or try to uh, solve the issues based on those vulnerabilities. And security operation centers are mostly also involved to deal with any items related to the pen test, security issues. So here are some of the words: what is breach, or what is a threat, um, and how we should be able to proceed based on vulnerability, the weakness I already mentioned. And after getting all those, we should be able to exploit it. So we are able to go in depth. OSINT is one of the keywords, also very common use. It's the open source intelligence where we're trying to get the info. So by using ChatGPT, Google, etc., we are also able to collect information. DDoS, distributed denial of service, in one of the scenarios also. We will go in a bit more in depth about DDoS. So by starting, we are mostly considering and need also to check with a pen testing with and familiar with this kind of keywords, what could be in scope of the pen test or red teaming exercise, what are the outscopes. So we are totally not touching to those devices, environment, or parts where we are not able to deal. So we are minimizing the scope. NDA, non-disclosure agreements, need to be signed. Which kind of pen test we need to consider? Is it a retest we need to already done by the same pen tester or a third party, and they want to ask you to do the pen test again? Security operation centers, but collecting all those information, we need also to know the what, the why, the when, and how we are able to do it. Kind of waivers, mostly together with NDAs, and the duration of the pen test of red teaming, if it had been mentioned. What kind and what type of pen testing we are able to do? Here are some of the most common. You will see networking, websites, mobile devices, but also mobile apps pen testing. It's very common based on applications. Could be um, so those are some of them. Now these days, more a movement also on cloud applications or cloud environment where the pen testing need to be done, and involving the physical one, it's more a part of the red teaming in the scope. So here, a fast path for an ethical hacker. So reconnaissance, we try to get the information what we are able to get. We are doing the scanning phases to scan the for vulnerabilities or any information that we should be able to collect. We try to gain the access to those environment. If we have the access, we try to maintain the access. Don't make sense to bypass the security, and if the SOC is able to find that someone is into the network, they are blocking you directly. So you still want to have the access. After that, if you are moving, and we try to clean our tracks also, so they are not able to find us. And reporting, but this is the one for ethical hacker, but almost the similar kind of approach you will see for the pen tester and also for the red teaming, where we are still doing the preparation, and that can be any part of preparation. A bit more into the planning need to be considered in those situations. How to discover is actually to collect the information, try to get the information. Attacking, exploiting the environment, also the reporting and evaluation is almost always the case in those kind of red teaming exercises or pen testing. Or it could be based on the results. They have fixed it and they ask after a few months or weeks how fast they are able to fix it to do a retest, to do the test again and see if problems has been solved or not. So a bit about the red teaming technologies. So that the previous was an overall one is where we are dealing with those. So actually, a red teaming is a group of authorized hackers, pen testers, to simulate the real world scenarios based on the real tools what they need to have or are able to have, and it could also be open source, but also commercial tools can also be involved. And based on the environment, it could be the assignment has to be in the scope that you need to do an active directory pen test, or they have a VoIP system, the telephony systems. The scope can be only on those items, or IoT mobile devices. So actually, that could be a criteria or more branches of parts of what can be included. The blue teaming is mostly the team who are trying to defend it or try to monitor what's going on and if they are able to see. So in those red teaming, we should be able to be sure that we are on a list and able to connect the environment and the systems. Not by starting, they will block you. So those items need to be communicated with the SOC teams. In some situation they are having some models or frameworks they are trying to apply. Could be that for the financial market they are using PCI DSS kind of frameworks, and some of those need to be considered. um, could be in scope, but also out scope is to set up a command of control center from where you are able to monitor and do all the activities. So yeah, some of them, what could be the part dealing with an red teaming. So the goals, here are some scenarios and a reason why an organization need to have and what is the goal to do the pen testing. The test the security, test the vulnerabilities, is the system in control. Um, that could be not only on computers but also testing the hardware, but also the physical access to a building, organization, or um, any of those part can be one of the goals. Most of the one, but that is not always the case. There and also provide a solution, but based on that, they should be able to use a proper patch management to update and be sure that those items are up to date. So as I mentioned, the preparation steps are created in several steps. Let me go quickly to it. So here are the steps again. As I mentioned, prepare information gathering, vulnerability management, exploit, and reporting, and the testing. For now, the first one, we will focus on that. And I divide that in 8 small steps where we are able to do the planning and get the information, meet the client or have the meetings, what need to be pen tested, when do we need to do, where do we need to do it, and why can also and need also be considered in the first step. Getting the approvals and how we should be able to proceed, and after that we should be able to create the documentation. So uh, in a meeting, we try to get the goal. What is the reason? What could be and should be in scope, and what should be automatically or be sure that that is out of scope. We will not deal with those items out of scope. The NDA discussion: do we need to sign it, or we don't need to sign it? Mostly, in 9 of the 10 times, we need to sign it and be to agree, and getting the formal approval to start with the pen testing. Which kind of teams will be involved from the organization point of view, the network engineer, the IT engineers, or the manager, the security manager, or uh, and based on the kind of pen test, that team can also be defined. But also, will the SOC be informed, or will it a pen test where they don't want to inform the organization and start with your red teaming, see what happen if you are able to come into the environment. Here's some of the what kind of pen testing: a black box pen testing, where we are able to get very less information. Mostly, we are able to get for a website an URL or an IP address, and just go away and just start with it and try to come onto the environment or hack the website. So that are very minimum information you are getting, and you need to do and collect all the information by yourself. The gray boxes, you are able to get a part of the information, and in a full and a white boxing, you will get all the information. Mostly the white boxing is also a kind of code based pen testing, where you should be also go in depth into the code and scripting languages what they are using. So here a sample for black box pen testing. So we should be able to gather the information from the open sources, as mentioned, limited scope, IP address, or a website URL you will get. Um, you are not getting any inside info, who is the IT manager and which kind of network designs they are using. It will not be in the scope. Um, and very less preparation from our side is required, and mostly those pen tests depend on the IP addresses, the amount of the IP addresses and URLs. That could be in hours or in some days. Those kind of pen tests could be done. So here, what kind I already mentioned quickly about this, the type of pen testing could be network, website, application, cloud apps, or a combinations of two, three, or more of them could be included in the scope of the pen testing. Um, and this is an sample for a web application pen testing, where we try to get information, and based on an white box pen testing, we should be able to collect all those info before we are able to proceed with the pen test. So here are some of those, and which kind of are the designs available: low level technical design, high level, you call it the source code. Are we able to get it? Based on this kind of information, and maybe more and more in-depth info is required to before we are able to start with a proper white box pen testing for the application. So when uh, during business hour, outside business hour, could be weekend, depend on the organization. 24 hours, 7 days they are working, then they need to mention a time window where we are able to do. That need to be planned, scheduling the resources, the pen testers. Not only one pen test, it could be that several pen testers are working on it in a red teaming exercise. Mostly will that be a group, a small group of pen testers working on it. So based on that, it should be able to get a confirmation and planning. Then the question, where can it be and should it be on site? If it should be on site, then we should be able to get access on it in of course, a gray and a white box. A black box could be that you are not getting it, and a red teaming exercise could be that we don't get access, and try to figure it out how you are able to come inside the environment, the building, and to do your a pen test. Offsite, that could be remote, having access or coming through internet, Citrix, or any of those kind of VPN connection, and you are able to do your pen test. Mostly advice will be in both situations, especially on remote, if it's possible, do a communication connection test. If you are able to connect to the environment, and based on that, should be able to have access, and before the day you are starting with the pen test, you are sure that access has been committed and you are able to proceed. I've faced in a lot of situations that IT and the security teams mention everything is fine. You can just start come Monday morning, and you can start Monday morning at 9 o'clock. You was with the clients, and nothing was has been arranged, and even the physical security don't allow us to come to the department or go to those site, and every part should be already done. So by really starting, it took us in some situation 1 2 hours before we are able to start. So to be sure that all those stuff has been arranged in proper way, mostly we advise also to do a pre-check if everything kind of dry run, where we are able to do a test before moving to the client and arranging. So on the why, it could be based on any frameworks or any audit logs, security auditing, what has been done or they are following. So it could be that based on those findings, our pen test could be this part or some of those findings need to be into the pen testing, where we are need to go in depth uh, on those items with the results from the auditing, security auditing reports. No. The approvals need to be done, the non-disclosure agreement, any kind of waivers where we are able to say, okay, we get the commitment to start, and that in those letters is a sample of letter. There should be a date, and it will be approved from till. Here are some of the items that need to be mentioned, and this kind of document. And of course, each company could have a different kind of layout, paperwork that need to be signed and approved. And mostly it should be signed and given the approval on management level, um, or CEO, CISO, CTO, especially in actually red teaming as in normal penetration testing. So those kind of approvals need to be get in place before we are able to proceed. Here are some of the part, how we are able to do and when we are doing. So we need to have, it could be that some extra tooling is required, extra resources, software are needed. If you're not dealing daily on any kind of IoT pen testing, it could be based on those IoT devices. You need to uh, get more info about those toolings. You maybe need to update your skills for that part. Um, an action plan, a checklist already mentioned, and do a connection test before you are able to proceed. Um, mm, After getting all those documents need to be signed, and of course, before you are able to proceed, budget in some situation or invoices or approval on those is also one of the part what need to be considered. Mostly a project leader or anyone who is leading this kind of pen testing should take care of all those items. And on number five, we, from a pen tester point of view, we don't start if we don't get all those document formal approved, to be sure that even we are getting the assignment to do the pen test, but if those documents don't has been approved, we don't want to argue and discuss about legal issues during the pen test, or if something happened during the pen test. And it can be, and it's one of the possibilities that by doing a simple scan, the whole system is not working or the whole network is going down or something like that. So to be aware on it. So moving forward, on red teaming pen testing. So here is a quick overview when I was doing a pen test, how it looked like. So mostly we prepare two laptops to go, one with all those our toolings, and another one could be on for documentation or notes or anything what we should be able or have access to the environment, or if it's an internal pen test example, you need to consider you're traveling to go to on site. If any hardware is required, could be dongle devices, switches in some situation, or any of those hardware extra is required. You need to take care of it. So in some situation, mostly we get a stand-up or a daily or just call a briefing about the pen test. It's still what has been discussed in scope. What part can we do? Is all the documentation ready? Are we getting the green line to start with the pen testing? Or not, or we need to wait. So, by an example, to do a pen test on we need to black boxing simple. We need to start with the open source info to get internal one. You are able to do vulnerability management, port scanning. With those results, you should be able to go in depth, find and go in depth about those results, what you are able to get, use the techniques and the tools what you should be able to use or allowed to use in the environment, collect those findings, make note, make your documentation already, or make a draft of your notification. So based almost end of the day should be able to see, okay, I'm done in one day, or I need to come the next day or the coming days, because there are so many items or so many findings we are able to find. We need to extend the day. Mostly in our situation, even if especially in offices, take all your stuff and leave the desk empty or as it was. Don't leave your notes there. Um, and you should be able to proceed. So there's an average day, how it look like. Next day could be different, or mostly in some situation you are only starting with the whole day, maybe to prepare the and discuss about the scoping. Uh, so these are some of the parts during a day when it should be. Uh, and the most time is mostly on number 4, where you are doing the vulnerability port scan, and the number 5, where you are going in depth, and 6 also use your tools techniques, where you are able to collect and get the informations from the systems. So another one, as a cryptography specialist, when I was working, a kind of similar kind of approach, in few steps, travel of go on site, having the meeting, get the intro one. But this is mostly to have the technical or the brainstorm session about cryptography or PKI, or those kind of issues what need to be discussed, and how we are able to give a solution on it. um, Similar kind of preparing, having a test environment. Are we able to use those certificates on a test environment or not? Or the solution that we want to implement, can that be deployed? Can we do the proper full test on a test environment? Mostly coordination planning, especially with third party vendors or partners. If you're dealing with on communication level, is one of the part what need to be discussed. Technical adjustment, so yeah, and that could be you need to create example certificate, or configure it, install it, be sure that the servers are able to accept it. And that could be Windows, Linux, or any kind of systems where you are able to test it. So these are another different kind of a role, but another kind of approach. But there is some similarity: discussing, preparing, coordinating. Not always the in-depth technical part, but also with project management and overall is one of the part included. Due to the time, I will go a bit quickly. Related and actually on comparing. So if you compare vulnerability management with a pen testers, who they are, there are two separate roles. A pen tester is mostly almost always doing a vulnerability management, but a vulnerability manager is not always doing the whole pen test. So here you are able to see some difference between those two roles. The same is a bit about the ethical hacking and a pen tester, when the pen tester is getting and going more in depth, and always need to provide also a pen tester report. And pen tester is also able to focus a bit more about the need from the business, or those apps or those application or only those parts. So those are some of the differences between those two. So as I mentioned, red teaming is more the offensive. The physical security is mostly involved in the, almost always involved also in the scope of the red teaming. You are able to use OSINT, ethical hacking and penetration testing skills are of course required. The purple team is actually between the blue and the red teaming. They are trying to improve the um, detection and the defense so part coordinated also, and the findings and the skills what need to be shared can be shared between those two. Defensive part, the SOC teams mostly, the threat intel teams, they are also responsible for be sure that the damage what the red teaming are making will be in control. And blue teaming are also dealing with the digital forensics investigations related to the pen testing activities. There are more teams, not very common use, but there are some more, the white, the orange, the yellow, and the green ones. Here, a comparison with the red teaming and the pen tester, what they are doing. So, red team exercise can be take longer durations. Is also a bit more expensive, mostly if you because you need to spend more time. The techniques and the skills could be similar, but they are able to go in depth and more, adding the physical one, where the pen tester normal could be in days and weeks, and in some situation they are not able to they are following in some scope and guidance, where red teaming is bit uh, free to decide which kind of scoping they need to use. So moving forward about the critical infrastructures, there are some of them for, I guess this from mostly for Europe based power, electricity upon oil, gas. These are some of the, but the healthcare is also one of the critical one. We have seen it due to COVID, how important our healthcare was. So what we are dealing, and if you are checking and focusing on that, yeah, those are the emergency systems, the fire station, the hospitals, the call centers, and of course police departments. All those part will be into those environment. Healthcares are dealing mostly with the HIPAA compliance. It's a compliance from US, and they are dealing. But there are could be a combination, the GDPR example, in combination with the HIPAA. So based on those compliances, you should be able to consider. There are of course more, but I just highlight that based on those guidance, we need also to work. So what they are dealing with, especially on the healthcare, they are dealing with all the healthcare centers, the hospitals, of course, the IT teams who need to provide and be available or giving the support on the healthcare, computer systems, networks. And of course, the medical devices, etc., what are important for those environments. So by dealing and starting with a red teaming exercise, um, yeah, short disclaimer. I can't disclose the client and the name, but some of the client names I can't share. Tool techniques, I'm not able to share everything. The location and where this pen test has been done, I'm also not able to share somewhere in Europe. That's only what I can say. And the results and the guidance and the advice what we have given, I'm not able to share. Just an average day don't mean that all the red teamings are doing this kind of exercise. We know how important this kind of graphs are for us if you are especially in the hospital due to some reason. So the doctors need to be aware, are able to get all those information. But what happens if they are not able to access this system? The monitoring part is not working. So I guess we as an patient there should be able to face issues. So this is just an image somewhere in the world from an healthcare organization, um, and we try to be sure that we are able to come inside the building and do the our red teaming exercise. So in this situation, we discuss with the client with the goal. We discuss on it, and we make two approach. One is an internal with together with the OSINT to try to get physical access, and we had create a plan about it, how we are able to do. We discuss also how what will be in scope a bit, not in details. The NDA, and we need and should provide a report after that. And another approach was the external from outside the building, the hospitals, try to do a DDoS attack on the website, what they are using. It was not the corporate website, but it was the website what they was using for remote working. So the doctors should be able to use and make the connection on it. So by trying to access and having access into the building, um, we try to before going to the location, we try to find on social medias the employees who was working there and which kind of roles they had. So there was a whole preparation before the day we are reaching to the hospital. So we try to make an appointment, and those kind of appointments related to not any part related to pen testing or red teaming. We try to get access to the building and how we should be able to come and go to the environment. So by so that was not so hard to get inside the building and to one of the locations was able. Mostly in this organization, if you are already inside, we was able to walk to some rooms, environments. We saw a computer system. We use our USB stick and a laptop also with us, and try to make a connection into one of the computer system. Just plug off the network cable and plug in the laptop. So we had a goal, we had an action plan, we know what to do, what will be the scope, and which kind of combinations we should be able to do. The result at that moment was not able to get it yet, and a report was submitted. So Oh, so here. So we make a network connection. We was able to get an IP address into the network on our laptop. We was able to do sniffer a bit, use a vulnerability scan, and exploit. And we the exploit part we was not able, and that was in the scope. Because if you found anything, or we are not able to do any exploit. So please provide us first what happened and what are the weaknesses, and are you able to find anything into this environment. So we got one cross-site scripting vulnerability quick about it, and we saw also an option that slow HTTP DDoS was also possible. So based on those two findings, we was proceeding. Here the sample what we use for the DDoS attacks, and based on that we was able to get info, get and find the whole network infra, what they had, which kind of service was included. Can't disclose about it, but this kind of service, and try to go further, do a brute force attack to get an password on log on the system. So that only told those part we was able to go, and that was also we are able to get a username and a password, and we are able to log on in the system. So that was one of the finding what we shared with them to improve it. So the DDoS attacks, here a sample how a DDoS attack look like. Normally you are sending normal packages, and at that time we are was sending need not the normal, but two, three times more load to the same environment where the website was not available anymore. So the next doctor or someone who want try to log on was not able to log on. So by stopping the DDoS attack, there was a firewall behind the environment, uh, and that recovered the system after 1 minute automatically. Even the SOC was not aware that something happened. So we mentioned that your monitoring is maybe not strong enough. The SOC was not able to get any response and any update on the monitoring, any alert that there is a DDoS attack going on, or at least the website is not available. Even those information they was not able to get. So these are also important for us, but as I mentioned, what happens if those systems are not available? Uh, we should be able to consider, and I guess a lot of pen testing need to be done on in this environment, especially also if they are deploying new systems, making the connection also with cloud environments. So those items need to consider how to proceed. So I think few minutes left. I need to quickly some takeaway tips and tips how to become a red teamer. Here are some of them. Sorry. Join Capture the Flags to learn more hands-on. Um, have the IT skills, especially on networking. If you are doing more networking, Python or any scripting languages could be useful to learn. OSINT training or part aware about OSINT, physical securities, and that physical security can be on a lot of parts. Also, part can be breaking a lock or how those kind of securities are involved. Um, of course, if you speak and conferences for us and creating preparations, you should be able also to prepare if you are need to deliver the reports or sharing the report in a presentation. Almost similar kind you will see it on the pen tester part and cryptography, but it's a separate other kind of role. But you will see that the encryption, decryption, where a pen tester, red teaming is also aware or should be able to aware, but some other items related to those has been mentioned. Uh, Quick some motivation tips here, what and how we are able to proceed. Um, and this is a famous quote where you are able to know what's going on, but we need to understand. This applies also for pen testers and ethical hackers, or hackers, not the ethical one. How we are able, we need to consider and know how the hackers are trying to get info to the info. If you are able to get that info or understand how they are able to think about it, we should be able to prepare ourselves, make the chances bigger to be sure that you will win the battle. One of the tips is maybe to compare a cybersecurity expert with the cyber crime one. The pro and cons has been mentioned, and activities. This is one of the Europol and Dutch police and Dutch government promo. What I found were look interesting. Uh, you know, you can see and compare those two. So our advice, of course, will please focus on the cybersecurity expert. Don't move into the cybercrime area. So I've done a lot of certification, but even I was able to fill some time. But if you look at this picture with a lot of certification that I passed, I don't think someone should be able to say or can be able to say that I'm a failure. But the most important part is about failure is I tried again. So after that, I was able to pass the same exams and learn about it. So that make it part and advice will be also try to do this. This is one of the quote my dad was using. Everything we should be aim to become a better version of ourselves. So it's applied for me, but hopefully can also be applied for you all. So that is my part. Hopefully, I'm not taking too many time in
No,
IT.
the time was fantastic. We don't actually have any questions right now. Oh, there's actually one. So the last
Okay.
question that popped in there is whitelisting of source IP mandatory? Isn't it part of the penetration testing to gain access and bypass access lists?
Yeah, depend. In some situation, we are able to see we are not able to. We in advance they are saying, okay, this part is already whitelisted. Um, so and getting the info and go further to do the source code scanning or see what's vulnerable or not correct written in the code. That could be one part. And in some situation, they are saying. We are not whitelisting. Go and find your own way. So and could be only you are not able to come directly to that, but by bypassing other systems or other parts from other ways, you should be able to come and get the same info. Yeah, so that it depends on the scope and what part can be done. So yeah,
Yeah,
hope
no, look,
this answered. Yeah,
I think it did, yeah. And again, what I will say is anyone after this session who still has outstanding questions, you can reach out directly to Sanil. He's just put
yeah,
up his details here on
yeah,
screen. And unfortunately, we've run out of time. So
yeah. Sorry.
look, it was a it was a fantastic session. I'm just going to close out the thank you notice. But again,
Yeah,
thank you, Sanil. Really, honestly, it was a brilliant session and looking forward to hearing more about this in the future.
thank you, thank you all. Have a nice day today.
You too. Bye for now.